people can join. Okay, and you see the full screen, right, Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, great. And it looks like it is recording.
Yep, that's great. Perfect.
I might just pause the recording until we have people who've joined. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And just so everybody knows, this is being recorded. So my name is Stephen Bush, and I'm the director of CIEE Teach Abroad and TEFL programs. And joining me as a co-host today is Hannah from Western Washington University. And basically, I'm going to be talking about teaching abroad. What are the benefits of teaching abroad? What are the ways you can teach abroad? How you can go about finding opportunities. And so hopefully you'll find it helpful. And my presentation is relatively short because I want to give time for questions. And so I'll go ahead and get started. So yeah, as I talked about, we'll address why to teach abroad, how you can do it, why you might teach abroad with CIEE. And I should say, so my organization that I represent, CIEE, we're a nonprofit international education organization. We're based in Portland, Maine, but have locations all over the world. And we have programs to help people teach abroad or get certified to teach English as a foreign language, which is TEFL. So to start off with, we have a couple attendees, Grace and Krista. If you don't mind writing in the chat box, I'm curious to know, have you taught abroad, or do you have any close friends or family members who have taught abroad? Yes, no, and if yes, where? Okay, no. Cool. So you'll probably be learning some new things. And why would you be interested? So you're joining us today. You obviously have some interest in teaching abroad. Why would you be interested? Ah, great. Thanks, Krista. Great. Cool. So I see we have a couple advisors joining us who work with students who are often interested in teaching abroad. All right. So my next slide here. So why would you want to teach abroad, and why do university students often think of doing this after graduating from college? Well, these are some of the benefits of teaching abroad. One is that you gain international work experience, and then also with that work experience and with the experience of living in another country, you gain skills you can transfer to pretty much any career path. Including language skills and intercultural competency skills. Something that I like to highlight is that teaching abroad is a good opportunity for people who had the chance to study abroad. So you might have studied abroad and returned home and you've got the travel bug. You want to see more of the world, or you want to go back to the place where you studied abroad to get to know it better and learn more. Teaching abroad is a good opportunity for that. But then also it's a way that people who weren't able to study abroad can have an international experience. So for some people, their major makes it difficult. It's hard to meet all their graduation requirements while also studying abroad, or maybe they couldn't afford to study abroad. And teaching abroad can give them that international experience after graduating. About 60% of CIE Teach Abroad participants studied abroad before, and about 40% didn't. And it's often one of, in that group, it's often one of their first international experiences. A question that we get sometimes is, how is teaching abroad different from studying abroad? Usually people teach abroad for at least 6 months. Most often is for a full 10 or 12 months, a full school year. And it's not uncommon for people then to extend for a second or a third year. Whereas a lot of people who study abroad these days go for 1 semester or even shorter term programs. So usually the experience is longer in terms of duration. Teachers tend to have more responsibility than students who are studying abroad. At the end of the day, you know, they're paid employees. They report to a supervisor, and have just a higher level of responsibility. And with that, I think they're forced to adjust and adapt more to the host country and culture. Often there's more integration into the local community. You know, teachers get to know their students, the parents of their students, their co-workers, their supervisors, their, you know, if they're living longer term in a place, they get to know their neighbors. So often there's kind of a greater degree of integration in the community, and sometimes more cultural adaptation, because like I said, there's often more the expectation that the teacher is going to adapt to the host culture. Whereas sometimes for study abroad students, they're not expected to adapt as much. I think it's fair to say. Obviously, every experience is a little bit different, but in general, I think these are true. So if you want to teach abroad, how can you go about doing it? There's a lot of different ways. One of the kind of easiest way, or not easiest, but most basic way, is to just do your own independent job search. You can find jobs through personal contacts. Some people just buy plane tickets to a country and knock on doors and find a job that way. Obviously, you know, that's more for kind of the adventurous sort. Another option is to find a job through a recruiter that's paid by the employer. And these are organizations, I've listed a few here, that basically they're paid by schools to find teachers. And that's pretty much all they do. There won't be any extra support. And then there's government programs out there like Fulbright English Teaching Assistant Program, Language and Culture Assistant Program in Spain, the EPIC program in Korea, JET in Japan, TAPIF in France. So these are programs run by the host governments or the US government. And there's no program fees, and there's, I'd say, differing levels of support. In general, with these programs, you're going to be getting a position and not a whole lot of extra training or support on top of that. And then there's program providers. CIEE Teach Abroad is one, and there's others. And what sets program providers apart is that, you know, organizations like CIEE, we don't just match you with a teaching position, but then, you know, give you support before you leave with the visa process, when you arrive in country, support with adjusting and you know, orienting you to your new country and your new job. So, you know, here's some of the types of support that CIEE provides. You know, reliable placements at schools you can trust, visa assistance. We have an online pre-departure course for one of our programs to help prepare you before you leave. In country, we have staff in every location. This picture is of our staff in Madrid. And this is from this past fall when they were running orientation for new teachers in Spain. And there's a safety net with international insurance that CIEE provides, and emergency assistance. And then we also provide TEFL certification courses. We've got a range of courses from 30, 60, 150-hour courses. One thing I like to note with getting TEFL certified is you can use it to teach abroad in another country, or you could teach online. And some people teach English language learners in their home community. So it's something you can use in a lot of different ways, and it never expires. So it's definitely helpful and valuable. Currently, we're offering programs, CIEE Teach Abroad programs in Spain, Thailand, South Korea, China, and Chile. And we've been able to run programs despite COVID. For some locations, the visa process is a little bit more complicated than usual. But in all these locations, the host countries are allowing teachers to travel and enter the country. Usually it's required that they get a negative COVID test before they travel. And in some locations like Thailand and South Korea, teachers quarantine for the first 2 weeks after arriving. What are the eligibility requirements? So for our programs, at least, we require native fluency in English, citizenship in countries where English is used as the first language, a bachelor's degree in any field. TEFL certification is required in most locations, but not all. Spain and Thailand are two places where we recommend people get TEFL certified, but it's not required. And then I just wanted to give you some quick snapshots of 3 of our most popular programs. Starting with Thailand. In Thailand, teachers are lead teachers who are responsible for grading and lesson planning. We place teachers in public and private schools, all grade levels, and it's a full-time commitment of 20 to 25 hours a week in the classroom plus prep time. And teachers receive what's really a generous salary for Thai standards of between 850 and 1,000 US dollars plus free housing. So that really goes far in Thailand. And our program fees start at $1,600. Highlights of Thailand is really that because we place teachers all around Thailand, a lot of teachers are in small towns and communities, and they really kind of experience cultural immersion. And then there's the chance to travel throughout Thailand and other parts of Asia. South Korea, teachers are also lead teachers, and they work in public and private schools, both elementary and secondary grade levels. It's a 12-month commitment in South Korea, and it's also full-time. Teachers in South Korea are really paid well, between $1,900 and $2,400 a month with free housing. And our program fee starts at $1,350. And highlights, it's a very easy country to travel around, and teachers can save money or pay off student loans. Okay. And Spain, teachers in Spain, they work as what's called a language and culture assistant. They support local teachers in the classroom with conversational English activities. So they're not responsible for lesson planning or grading. Basically, they support that lead teacher with activities that will help students practice using English. They work in both primary and secondary schools. It's a 1-year commitment usually, or sometimes 1 semester starting in January. And it's part-time. So language assistants work 16 hours a week and 4 days a week. So they all either have Monday or Fridays off. So it's always 3-day weekends, which is nice. And they earn €1,000 per month. And our program fee starts at $1,200. This is a really good way to kind of dip your toe in the water in terms of teaching. If you don't have a background in teaching or education, it's a way you can get some experience and figure out if it's something you want to do more of. And on this program, since it is part-time, the participants have plenty of time to volunteer or study Spanish. So that's it. That's what I've prepared. You can always find more information on our website. I'm available if you have any questions. And we'll do a little Q&A now. We'll see if anyone has any questions. I see a couple questions from Hannah. Do you know if the government sponsored programs offer insurance? Good question. Some of them do, yes. I don't know what type of insurance for all of them, but some of them do. And yep, the question about whether CIEE offers insurance, we do as well. Can students apply as an undergraduate before they graduate and just show proof of diploma to participate? Oh, okay, once they're a participant on the program. Yes, so seniors can apply to our programs and just show that they're on track to graduate. Often, they get a letter from their registrar just indicating that they're on track to graduate, and then once they get their diploma, they can send that to us. So it's not necessary to already have your bachelor's degree when you apply. That's a good question. Yeah, any other questions? And Grace, feel free to write in the chat box if you want me to unmute you. I'm happy to just take a question. Talk through a question with you if you have any. We've got one more question here. Do students apply to multiple teach abroad positions, say Spain, then Thailand? That's a good question. So in terms of applying at one point in time, we recommend that you just choose to apply to one program. But then we do have a lot of teachers who will complete one program, say in Spain, and then decide afterwards that they want to complete another program in another location. Yeah, and then a question from Grace, is there a place to find out more about other locations? So I'd say a good website that you could use, there's two, is Go Overseas and Go Abroad. On their websites, you can see examples of programs from a lot of different countries and different providers. And then you can also do some research on some of the government programs I mentioned. So Fulbright, they have English teaching fellowships in a lot of different countries around the world. And then Hannah, thanks for sharing a link to our website. You can check out our website with details on other programs in other locations that we offer. Yeah, thanks, Grace. Cool. So there's a question about what the benefits of CIEE are versus going through a government program. That's a good question. So I'd say the biggest benefit is just that we really provide a high level of support to teachers. And on most government programs, they don't really provide a whole lot of support. As I mentioned before, most government programs will provide teachers with a teaching position. They say, okay, you're going to teach at this school. You got to report on this day. And they might give a little, some basic information about, kind of how to get there and how to start or who to contact, but not much. And so teachers are pretty much on their own to figure out housing, figure out the medical system, figure out transportation. And so that's something that we do for teachers who want to have extra support. Before they depart, we have an online course to help prepare them and tell them what to expect in terms of housing, transportation, medical care, etc. And then when they arrive, we have an orientation, um, with activities to help them learn those things, panel discussions with alumni, teachers who've completed the program or currently on it. So really the main difference is that we provide just a high level of support for teachers who don't really who want to feel more comfortable and supported. And then in terms of visa assistance, we have coordinators on our staff who are assigned to each location and help walk the teachers through the process of getting a visa, and answer all their questions and give them, detailed guides. Um, yeah, and what does the application timeline look like? So in general, you should start planning, and I'd say applying at least 6 months in advance of when you would want to travel. So if you wanted to travel in, the fall of 2021 coming up, a lot of our programs have application deadlines, March 1st, and then, there'll be some that get extended to April, but you should be planning at least 6 months in advance. And, once you are accepted to a program, then we start, looking for a teaching placement for you, and, helping prepare you for the visa process. And, it takes time to get ready to travel. Okay. And a question, what if you are placed, but due to COVID-19 and travel advisories, um, okay, can you defer your placement or switch locations? Yeah, excellent question. So if you receive a placement to teach in a location and then, COVID-19 doesn't make that possible. So, if CIE decides that, we can't run a program, in whatever location because of COVID-19, we would, help you defer or transfer to another program. Or if you didn't want to move forward, then we refund all program fees if CIE has to cancel a program. If someone was just personally not comfortable with teaching in a certain location, then we would talk with them, individually and kind of, help them figure out what the best option is for them. And there's a question here: do we have a cohort of other teachers placed at these sites, or are most alone in their placements? That's a really good question. So we send to all of these locations pretty good sized groups of teachers each year. In some places like Spain, they're grouped together in one location. So for example, in Spain, we have hundreds of teachers in the region of Madrid each year. So people, can easily share apartments, rent apartments together. But then in some other locations like South Korea, teachers are more dispersed across the country. Thailand is the same. But with Thailand, we are still able to group teachers together if they want to be with another CIE teacher. So we often place groups of 4 or 5 teachers in one school together. And so if that's something that a teacher wants and they'll feel more comfortable being with another CIE teacher, then we can usually do that for them. Great. Well, thank you all. Okay, another question here. Can students qualify for loan deferment if they're teaching abroad? Yes, they can. And we can provide letters confirming that you're participating on our program. But then participants have to take that letter and, share it with whoever services their student loans, in order to get a deferment approved. so yes, that is something that people can do. We help by providing a letter, but then ultimately it's up to participants to talk to their loan providers. Yeah, any more questions? Grace, do you have any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, cool. No more questions. Well, thank you all. And this is recorded, so it'll be shared afterwards. And for those of you who are watching the recording, feel free to reach out to me or visit CIE's website if you have any questions. So thank you all, and hope you have a good rest of your day.